So we've all seen King Koopa's, my bad. We've all seen Doug Bowser's interview talking about why he is being greedy with Nintendo products these days. And maybe, like some people said, it's all coming from Nintendo Japan and their CEO. Who knows? But he is the face of one of the greediest movements that Nintendo's ever had. And he's saying that he is reflecting on, I guess what he's called value pricing, to justify raising the prices of video games to astronomical levels, saying that you're getting much more value out of playing Mario Kart World. And that's the reason why it justifies the $80 price. So if a company makes a game that you want to play over and over again, you should be charged because they've made a good product. But if they make a game that you just want to play through once, then technically they should charge you less money, is what I'm hearing. I've never seen Nintendo charge in that way. Some games that I play from Nintendo, I only play once and never play them again. Metroid Prime is one of them. It's a great game, but if I'm only going to play through it once, experience the story, and be done with it, then what am I going to be charged $30 for it? Okay, the price of a movie. I go see a movie one time for 2 hours, and it's contained. It has a beginning, middle, and end, just like a game I would play one time. And I get charged about $30 for it at the high end. So let's look at video games the same way. So you're saying because I can play Mario Kart, a racing game, that does the same thing that Sonic Racing Transform does outside of the open world, using graphics that the Switch 1 could have done. Because remember, Mario Kart 8 is a Wii U game. But because they can't reuse the same technology for a third system, they have to make a brand new game. We're being charged like a customer in 2022 through 2025 restaurant where tips are mandatory. So Nintendo's asking for a tip up front because they're doing their job. Like a waiter is bringing you food. And even, again, let's use this example. Let's just say you go and you order food from a local restaurant to pick it up. And you go in and you pay for it. And they say, well, can you look at the screen for us? And on the screen is 15, 20, 30% tip to add on to you picking up your order. You didn't sit down. No one served you. You got nothing extra. There was no extra service. They did their job and they want to be compensated extra for it. Nintendo is the richest company in Japan. That was announced on the news a couple of days ago. And yet they're still this greedy. And they didn't get rich because they were nickel and diming people. Yeah, they don't raise their prices. Sorry, they don't lower their prices, even on sales very often. Maybe once or twice a year. Games that were on sale 7 years ago are still the same price right now. But yet they still want extra just for doing their job. Oh, you had a good gameplay experience? Well, we should charge you $20 more because you can play this game more than once. Wow. Good job, Doug Bowser. Oh, your game has video chat that's been in video games for the better half of 2 decades? Oh, now that we're using it somewhat properly and finally catching up, unlike everybody else, we're going to charge you for it because we're going to pretend that you've never been in any other ecosystem other than Nintendo. He really is the final boss of video games as we know it. And he's trying to destroy it all. He's trying to say, oh, we don't look at other companies and what they charge. Knowing that as an industry leader, the one that's been around since the 70s, that's still here in terms of the medium of making video games, the one that everybody looks to, he takes no responsibility, no accountability for the fact that other game publishers, manufacturers, and developers are going to follow their example and make life harder for the gamers that they say they care so much about. That's not value to me. That's tyranny. Okay, so the first time I recorded this, it was over 30 minutes. And so I'm going to try to make this a lot shorter. But the basis of this video is going to be I'm not buying a Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo's greed has gotten incredibly bad with the price of the games, the price of the upgrades, and the cartridges that have a code in the midst of having an actual game on the cartridge. This is insane to me. And people are trying to place the blame. Some people that are defending Nintendo are trying to place the blame on the tariffs that were announced on on April 2nd. But again, digital games should be cheaper because there's no packaging material. There's no media to put them on. There's no overseas shipping. There's none of that. Now, I understand it could be tariffs on digital goods. But again, just in general, digital goods should be cheaper simply because there's no materials partners to distribute with, like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, Amazon. They don't get a cut up of anything that comes with shipping and selling a physical good. So digital games should be far cheaper. Now, I'm going to try and divide this up into sections just so we can keep this concise for time. So the blame, again, should not be placed on the tariffs, but strictly on Nintendo's current president. Since Iwata passed away, we've seen a shift in how Nintendo manages their business. Iwata was well known for taking a pay cut when the Wii U didn't sell properly. He was well known for what he did in the industry with the 3DS and DS, and how he communicated directly with the customers when Nintendo started to do their directs. He was a forefront of compassion in being the face for Nintendo. The new CEO, as we've seen, is all focused on nickel and diming customers now. We have games that have been out Grand Theft Auto style for 3 generations, and it seems like they're getting more expensive by the generation. Mario Kart 8 was a Wii U title, and it was on the Switch with basically just more tracks and more characters, but there was an extra graphical enhancements to take advantage of the Switch. You're still running a Wii U engine, and it's something that's really changed with Mario Kart World. But they're trying to charge $90 for games. Insane. Then we have the price of the upgrades. Nintendo should be having these upgrades similar to Xbox, where you get the upgrade because the system is just more powerful. It can handle 60 frames per second. It can handle up to 4K or 1080p on the screen in portable mode. There's a backward compatibility catalog for Xbox. And if you own Red Dead Redemption, the Ninja Gaiden series, the Splinter Cell series, those games now run in 4K 60 regardless of the generation that it was on. And there's no extra cost for it. And Nintendo is becoming like Take-Two, and they want to have a game come out for 3 generations and charge you over and over again. And now even increase the price with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. That's insane. The original Switch released at a time where things were very different. There was no competition for a portable game system that could play AAA titles and instantly connect to a dock and continue your gameplay experience on your TV. Also, Nintendo games were much more affordable at that time as well, compared to the competition. While they were introducing $60 games to the competition for Xbox and for PS4, Nintendo still had their games at that time at $49.99. It wasn't until We had our first major increase a couple of years later when we started introducing $60 games. And that was really huge because when we got that, it was understood that most of the industry was increasing their prices for AAA games due to the huge development costs of, having bigger textures that are required for these games, 4K visuals, hiring voice actors for these blockbuster titles. It was basically a movie production. Nintendo games didn't require that. Link was a silent protagonist. Mario made his little quips and, said very little. Peach actually spoke more than anybody else in the game. Toad with a grunt, And so, which leads us into the third thing Nintendo had at that time that really kept the system going. They had franchises that we loved as exclusives, with the prices being lower, a system that had an appeal because it was portable and it was a home console. And it had games that we grew up on, that we wanted to see a continuation of in the newest graphics possible. That kept people buying the Switch. Those things were so appealing to the mass audience that people did end up buying more Switches than any other system in that console generation. But things have really changed. I'm going to try to combine this next section in what we speak about now, because competition has changed today. Right now we have the birth of the other portable gaming systems that can hook up to your TV. You have the Steam Deck. You have the Rogue Ally. You have all those systems from China and Japan that you can buy for the more expensive prices, over $1,000. But these portables have the same functionality as a Switch. You can play AAA games uncompromised on these portable systems, mostly due to AMD's Z1 Extreme processor. Okay. Now, Xbox has a portable system coming out this year as well. That's going to be made by ASUS using the Z1 Extreme 2 processor, or what's, I guess, more commonly known as the Halo Strix processor. So that's going to be competition for the Nintendo Switch 2 this year. That competition wasn't there when the original Switch came out. Games do look better, and they're actually cheaper on the competition. Let's say Street Fighter 6, for example. Street Fighter 6, the game is going to be compressed. I've seen videos comparing the PS5, Xbox Series X, and the Switch 2's Street Fighter 6. I've seen areas where some of the current consoles look better than the Switch 2, and some areas where the Switch 2 looks more detailed. But for $80, you can go ahead and get any of those current versions for a much cheaper price than you can on the Switch 2, with year 1 and year 2 season content. Actually, if you get it on PC and you play it on one of these portables, you can actually get Street Fighter 6, the base game, for roughly about $20 to $24. And when season 1 and 2 actually go on sale, they're usually around $15 a piece. So you can either pay about $50 for Street Fighter 6 season 1 and season 2 on Steam and just play it anywhere. You can plug it up to you can play it on your portable game systems, play it on your big TV, on your computer, or you can play it with your portable system plugged up to your TV, just like it would be on a Switch, and have no compromises in the graphics, and have a price that you can actually afford, or you can buy it on a Switch for $80. I know which one I'm going to get. And actually, what I did find out recently is that the Switch 2 version is going to be a physical copy with a game key card. A game key card with a key and not the actual game on the actual physical media. So you're not actually even getting a physical game. So when we get into other competition, players have a backlog now. Game quality has been going down for years. And we've amassed a huge backlog of games that are coming from AA studios, not AAA, that are amazing in quality that we've never gotten to. This is a perfect time when Nintendo's losing their mind and has a president that's focused on greed and penny pinching for us to go back to those old franchises and complete those games that we sorely missed out on. Now, I want you to keep in mind that a lot of the things that help the Switch may not help the Switch 2. Again, there were loved franchises on the Wii U that didn't save the Wii U. The Wii U sold about 12 million units. It had multiple Zelda games, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and Breath of the Wild. It had Mario Kart 8, had Mario 3D World. It had a variety of Mario 2D games. Didn't help the system at all. So we won't think that Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong and HD remasters of current existing Zelda games are going to save Nintendo when all social media is really talking about right now is Nintendo's greed. It's the same price as a PS5. It's more expensive than a PS5 Slim. It's the same price as the Xbox Series X. And Game Pass actually offers more value than the Nintendo Switch 2 and their ecosystem. So in that ecosystem for Nintendo Switch 2, we're looking at games that cost $70 to $90. Okay? Let's just say a game is $90. Maybe the game's on a disc, or maybe you get a master key on that inside the cartridge. And that's it. It allows you to play your game. For the same $90 plus tax, which would be $96, $97, you can actually have 5 months of Game Pass. Let's say it takes you a month to beat a really good game. A Persona 3 Reloaded, a Indiana Jones. Now keep in mind, you also get the Electronic Arts, the EA Play that comes with all the Electronic Arts games, including all the Need for Speeds, Dirt 5, what else? Anthem. I mean, all those games that you really want to go back and play, those franchises that you love with EA, even the Madden games. Okay, the FIFA games, they're all included in EA Play. Ubisoft Plus is also inside of Xbox Game Pass. So you have 5 months worth of Game Pass where you can beat 5 games, or you can sample and play 20 games in those 5 months, testing out games you like, finding one you really like. Or you can buy one single Nintendo game. Doesn't sound like a value to me. Over the last 4 years, we've had a ton of mediocre games that have come out. We've seen people make a decision, use and utilize YouTube, social media, and actually speak amongst each other and start to vote with their wallet. We've taken a stand against things we don't like. I'm taking a stand this time, and I'm not buying a Switch 2 at launch. I may not buy it at all, depending on what Nintendo does, because I don't want to be involved in an ecosystem that's going to break the bank. And keep in mind, I have a PS5 Pro, an Xbox Series X, a Rogue Ally X. I got all these at launch, by the way. I have a 4090, my big gaming computer in my living room, hooked to my 85-inch TV. In my bedroom, I have an Alienware computer that I just installed AMD 9070 XT into. My garage computer has the 3070 in there, and it actually plays Dragon's Dogma and all those other great games just fine. Dragon's Dogma 2, Street Fighter 6, Metaphor Fantasio. It plays those games great. And so I don't need to buy a Switch 2. It would be nice to have the latest thing because I love video games. I've enjoyed Nintendo since 1987 when I bought my first Nintendo with Mario Brothers in Duck Hunt. But I'm going to do what I did with my PS3 when it was overpriced at launch for $5.99. I'm not going to buy it. And what happened during that situation is that Sony realized no one was really buying the PS3 and everyone was buying the Xbox 360, and they lowered their price. And right around the time Metal Gear Solid 4 came out for $49.99, with all its voice acting and motion capture and great graphics, some of the best graphics at the time, that game was still $49.99. And they sold like gangbusters. You make a good game, people will buy your game. You sell digital games, you'll make even more because, again, there's no cost for selling physical media or paying distributors. Sony lowered their price and offered great bundles at that time. And that was the time when the PS3 started to sell millions on top of millions of units. And by the end of that generation, it actually outsold the Xbox 360. So the goal is for Nintendo to lower their price of all their games to $50 and $60 again. Okay? The goal is to have game upgrades for free because your customers are loyal to you. The goal is for you to get a manufacturing partner in the U.S. if you want to avoid the tariffs in the U.S. for physical goods. But what you're not going to do is cheat your customers. So I think we have time to fit the next section in the last section. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, you can buy a Rogue Ally or a Steam Deck. You buy a Rogue Ally, that would be my option. That's what I would tell you to do. Buy the Rogue Ally with the Z1 Extreme processor for $4.99. Okay? The games look better on that than they will on a Switch 2. The processor is better, arguably. The games will look better, though, because they're PC ports of these games and they're not compressed. There's no generations on the games that are on the Rogue Ally or the Steam Deck. You can go on Steam, play Quake 2, Quake 3, Quake 4, play Doom 3. You can play all of the Arkham games. You can play the original Crysis, play Crysis Remastered. All these games that were compressed on a Switch, you can play the actual Witcher 3 Enhanced Edition on your Rogue Ally. Okay? So not only are the games looking better and there's no generations, there's multiple storefronts that always have sales on games. You have Steam. You also have GOG, the Epic Game Store. It's a ton of key sites. I actually bought 6 games, Elix 1 and 2, the Darksiders full series, and what was the third game that I think it was like a Tales game, a recent Tales game, all for $20. You will never, ever see the Nintendo Store have a sale like that. Okay? So the games will be more affordable while you're waiting to buy a Switch 2 if you go with this other option. Multiple storefronts are having a sale. And let's not even talk about the reason why I would tell you to get a Rogue Ally over the Steam Deck is because of Game Pass, which Nintendo has made Game Pass, again, the best value in gaming right now. You pay $100 for one game for the Switch 2, or you get 5 months of Game Pass. And Game Pass has sales on their games that are non-stop. They're basically $20 off. 20% off the price if you buy a game on that's already listed on Game Pass. Okay? You also have the option to use emulation while you're waiting for a handful of games on GameCube to hit your Nintendo Online. You can actually play those games already upscaled through emulation by using a Rogue Ally or a PC. And we all know that you can actually use an Xbox Series X and put your emulators on there using developer mode. Amazing way to play your games. You can play your F-Zero GX on your Xbox Series X. Again, you have a backlog that's on that surely has grown. As most gamers I've talked to, their backlog is gigantic. Okay? Great time for you to beat all your original Switch games that you just never had a chance to beat. Okay? Nintendo has to get their act together before I decide to put any money into that ecosystem. I am not going to contribute to an ecosystem that's going to ruin gaming for the average person. Gaming is not a luxury item. Okay? Me buying my 4090, my 9070 XT, me getting these things are luxury items for me. And I'm in finance. I make good money, but I'm not irresponsible with my money. Yes, I do spend money on gaming, but I cut back on other areas of my life because not because I don't have the money to do it, but because I have bigger goals. I want to get my bills paid, you know, and I want to pay my mortgage. And I have a kid who's going to be going to college soon. I don't have time to give Nintendo hundreds of dollars a year or heck, even in a month. As it stands now, if I could buy a 50, I don't want to buy games, at full price, unless it's a game I'm truly anticipating. I will usually get them on Steam, and even on launch day, I can find a deal for Monster Hunter Wilds and get it for $45 on Steam. I don't have to pay $90 to Nintendo because they're greedy. I can buy Resident Evil 4 Remake on launch day and get it for a deal, $20 off. But I don't have that option if I go to Nintendo, who is trying to make games more expensive for everybody else. Because as soon as you buy a Nintendo Switch 2 and you start contributing to an ecosystem that gets their numbers up and gets their confidence up, Sony, who is notorious for doing anti-consumer practices, they're waiting for Nintendo to succeed so they can charge you more money. And Xbox is going to charge you more money. And they're going to actually try to promote Game Pass for about a half a generation. Say, we're cheaper than Nintendo before they follow suit. It's the same example of Apple. Samsung made fun of Apple for getting rid of the headphone jack and getting rid of chargers inside of the box when you buy a new phone. And within 2 years, they were doing the same thing. So all these other console manufacturers are going to complain about Nintendo being anti-consumer just enough to sell a few more systems. And then they're going to start doing the same thing. And your hobby is going to become more expensive because you contribute to an ecosystem that's not looking out for you. And you have the option to be patient and do something about it. And you chose not to. I've already made up my mind. It's not going to happen for me. Now, the last thing is new portable systems are coming out using AMD's new Halo Strix processor. They have upgradable NVMe hard drives in comparison to Nintendo's 256 gig internal storage, cheaper SD cards up to 2 terabytes. They're not the extreme SD cards that Nintendo's requiring us to use. Standard 2 terabyte micro SD card on Amazon today for $179 for 2 terabytes. And these new portable systems are standardizing 80-watt batteries, which are going to give you much longer gameplay for games that are not compressed, like they will be on the Switch 2. I get it. We all want to play Mario, Zelda, because we have a nostalgia. We grew up with those. But if you want to continue to play it and have it be a long time hobby 10 years from now, a hobby that won't price you out, and have Nintendo pricing everyone else out of enjoying that hobby, less sales means less games, right? Then you need to stand up right now, do what we did when the PS3 was overpriced, when they have anti-consumer practices. You stand up, you vote with your wallet, and say, I'm going to do something else. Kick Nintendo in the balls. Let them feel it for 2 years. That's a lot of time for them not to be making a good profit. They'll change their mind, but only if you stand up. Thanks a lot.